I'm a single mom. I date, but I don't date single dads. And yet, I bet you get so mad when you hear guys say that they don't date single moms, huh? Yeah, this is pretty much a repeat of that article from a few years back where all the fat chicks were admitting that they don't date fat guys. Doesn't work that way, princess. I was away for a month, home for a month. He said on our first off the app coffee date. I recounted the end of his, or recounting the end of his marriage. He was a nice guy, in good shape and attractive, but he had kids, and the judgmental words flew out of my mouth before I could think to soften them. How is that conductive to fatherhood and a relationship? Says the single mother, by the way. I couldn't stop myself from judging single dads. My ex also has been away with work all the time, leaving me to do the lion's share of raising our two young children. I had to adjust my life and work around his work. So, who was making the most money in this case? Like, if you were making more money than him, and yet you were still making the adjustments and sacrifices, yes, that was kind of unfair. But if he was the one paying the lion's share of the bills, you need to put up with it. So it was clear I could never see this guy again. This date was bringing up resentment on behalf of a Whammons I'd never met. I ignored his text to meet up again. Same woman probably complains when guys ghost her, by the way. So there was another guy I got on well with. He was chatty and fun, but he had a daughter who he had 50-50 custody of and saw himself as a stable, less chaotic parent who had clear routines. Maybe it was true, but I couldn't see beyond the things my ex probably said about me and our custody situation. Well, the things he says about you are probably correct. At the time, I was fighting against losing 50% of my time with my chillins, and it stirred up a panic and loss for me. I never had a second date with that guy either. Every single dad who moved 4 hours away from his chillins and only saw them over the school holidays wasn't right for me. What kind of father moves that far away from his kids? All right. So what kind of mother moves the kids away from him, though? So men with chillins couldn't win. If they had equal custody, I felt like they were the enemy. I didn't want to think about my own sons being taken away from me. And if they spent less time with their children, I had a negative reaction to that too. Well, what if they had full custody? I started dating men without children. I'm surprised the men without children wanted to date you, though. I bet they were only using you for fun. Yeah, you're not the serious one. You're just there for fun. The answer for me has been to date men without children. Funny you mentioned that, isn't it? It's almost as if guys that don't come with extra baggage are a lot better to deal with, right? Now, if only you could see that it's the same thing the other way around. No guy wants a girl with all this extra baggage. So I found this to be easier as I only have time to date when my children are with their father. I'm not looking for someone to be the father to my children. I have no desire to mix those two worlds. The same could be true of the single fathers that you were dating before. So navigating dating apps as a single mother was tricky at first. If the app didn't require me to mention my children, I didn't. Yeah, that probably cost a lot of potential long-term relationships there. Yeah, myself and pretty much every other guy I know, if it turns like if we were tricked into dating a single mother, yeah, that relationship wouldn't last. So instead, I would bring them up only when it was relevant, which sometimes meant I never heard from my date again. Uh-huh. So I tried not mentioning kids at all to see if that worked better. Yeah, this is exactly what you do, right? Like when you're dating, you're trying to find a so-called soulmate, a person to share your life with. Yeah, I'll totally find the right one by hiding the fact that I have kids. Like I'm just not even going to mention them. How long do you think you could keep that secret? You planning on dropping it on the guy after you get married? Like as soon as he puts a ring on it? Oh, by the way, I got 3 kids. I wonder how that would work out for your relationship. But it was weird and uncomfortable, and my story just didn't add up. So you couldn't keep your lies straight. Well, I was living in a city where I didn't have many friends, and in an apartment that was more expensive than one a single person would normally rent. I went back to mentioning being a mother. Dating men without children has been less complicated. You think? You starting to realize why men prefer to date women without children too? There's some run a mile at the first whiff of children, but others stick around and have no problem with it. Yeah, they stick around because you're still a good lay, I guess, and they don't have anyone else lined up. But I know for a fact a lot of guys will stick around with a single mother until they get someone better. It's just like when you're working at a job that you've already checked out of. You're looking for other jobs already, but you don't quit until you have a new job lined up, right? Like that's just the smart thing to do. So you still keep coming to work because, well, you got to pay your bills, right? But yeah, mentally you're already checked out of that job. Like that's how I see a lot of these relationships with single mothers. They're just there to hold you over until your next serious relationship. So I've met some men who were brought up by single mothers, which gave them respect for my setup. A few have had complex relationships with their own mothers and are drawn to the nurturing side I've developed since becoming one myself. Yeah, when you're not nagging and being a harpy, right? On my breaks from motherhood, I'm also free from the constant issues and tensions that come up with, or from having an ex who has to remain present in my life. In that more carefree mode on my days off, the last thing I want to deal with is someone else's ex, even if it's just hearing about them. Are you starting to sympathize with men yet? Because a lot of this is exactly what we've been saying too. That I prefer to keep dating simple. Yes. Guys, save this article, by the way. Save this article and use it next time you hear women complaining that guys don't want to date single mothers. Because pretty much every case that this single mother uses for why she doesn't date single fathers, it applies the other way back too. So in the 5 years since I've been single, I'd say a third of the guys I've been interested in have been single dads and 2/3 have not. All of them knew I had children. After deleting dating apps from my phone a few years ago, these days I only date men who I'm already friends with, even if they live in other countries. Some of them have already met my sons. I make it a point to keep romantic side of things for my off-duty days. Interestingly, non fathers are just as hard to make plans with as dads because they're equally busy, albeit with travels, hobbies, and friends, not looking after kids. Those guys have their priorities straight. Sorry, can't hook up with you because I'm busy hanging out with my friends or partaking in my hobbies. Yeah, I got priorities in my life, bitch, and you're nowhere near the top of the list. I'll let you know when I want to make a booty call. I've found they tend to be into more casual relationships than single dads who often seem to be searching for a life partner. Hey, as long as you're okay with the casual side, because this isn't this exactly what I've been saying as well about these guys. That yeah, they're only with you to hold them over until their next serious relationship. If you're fine with that, if you want to participate in just in hookup culture, more power to you. You hit the jackpot, I guess. Motherhood demands a lot of my time and attention, so less intense relationships suit me better at this point in my life. I like not having to talk about where the relationship is going and how we could one day blend our families and juggle exes. Single motherhood is complicated. I prefer my dating life to be simple. So I really gotta wonder, like, what's this woman's attitude gonna be like once her husband doesn't have to pay child support anymore? Like, once the money runs out, is she still just gonna want to be dating for fun? Maybe.